Hello and welcome back. I'm super excited today because in today's video, I'm going to have a chat with Adina Violet. She is a nutrition coach for women and she helps them take care of their bodies and understand their hormonal imbalances and at the same time make them explore their feminine energy and work with that in order to maximize their experience of life. I personally had a session with Adina in which we talked about nutrition, my eating habits, what I could improve, and what kind of foods I could add to my diet in order to feel more energetic, because I used to feel a lot fatigued at that time. And honestly, her tips really helped me to take care of myself a lot better, and I started feeling way more energetic afterwards. In the description below, you will find a link to Adina's website where you can fix a session with her yourself to explore a little bit what is working well or not in your hormones, and I'm sure that it's going to be extremely helpful. Also, you can check out her Instagram profile, and let's get started with the interview. Oh, hi Adina.
Hello, Sadaf. How are
I'm good,
you?
thank you. So glad to see you, and thank you so much for giving me your time for this interview.
Thank you for inviting me. It's a
I'm
pleasure.
really happy to have you. You know, Adina, I think that in today's day and age, even though there is a lot of information out there, it feels like there is an overflow of information, and women do have some difficulty in finding out about what should they be eating, what should they be watching out for in their hormonal issues and things like that. So today I wanted to discuss with you women's health, and afterwards we will go more towards the nutrition, which is also your expertise. And lastly, we will come to the feminine energy, which is like the divine feminine, which is these days coming up more and more. And I really want more women to know about
that makes complete sense.
So let's get started with women's health. First of all, I would like to ask you, what are the mistakes these days that women are making regarding their
This is a really interesting question because I think our lifestyle throughout, for the last 100 years or so has changed so much. And I'm seeing so many trends nowadays that are just not working for us. It's like lifestyle trends, health trends that are just working against our hormones. I think it's important to understand the physiology of women and why we're different than men. It's a completely different way of living life than men.
Yes.
So when it comes to women, female physiology follows two cycles. It's the sleep-wake cycle, which is the circadian rhythm, and that is governed by cortisol and melatonin.
Okay.
And it's the menstrual cycle, which is governed by estrogen and progesterone.
Okay.
So we really want to follow the flow of these hormones in order to experience hormonal health.
Mm-hmm.
And this is why I wanted to explain this before I go into the mistakes that women are making today.
Yeah.
So in alignment with that, now the thing that I'm seeing with so many women is eating at all hours of the day and night. One thing that is just not only is disrupting this digestion, the blood sugar levels is all over the place, but also it's impacting cortisol.
Mm-hmm.
And cortisol is, when you're eating all the time, your cortisol is always staying up. So you really want to balance that. And it's very important to understand that melatonin and cortisol, they have an inverse relationship. One is went up, the other one is down.
Okay.
And you really want to go with the flow of cortisol, because cortisol starts to rise naturally about 1 o'clock in the morning. So you want to have a really good sleep before. So if you go to bed at midnight, for example, you're not going to have time to have sleep before. Exactly. You want to go to bed way before midnight. So it starts to rise about 1 o'clock in the morning, and then it goes up. And then by the time we wake up, around 6, 7 o'clock, by 9 o'clock, it's at its highest. So you really want to exercise in the morning. You want to eat in the morning. You want to go with the flow of the day.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, eating at all hours of the day is not good for the digestion, but it's also keeping the cortisol levels up, especially if in the evening, we snack, we eat until late in the evening. Yes. That's just not helpful. Also, another thing that I'm seeing is, as I was saying now, staying awake until late, reading, staying on Instagram, on Facebook, this confuses the body and throws off balance of cortisol and melatonin.
Exactly.
It's so unhealthy for us. So what happens is when you're always keeping your cortisol up, you're messing up with the hormones and you're pushing down melatonin, which is the hormone of sleep. So whenever you want to go to sleep, it's not going to be possible. And both of these hormones are extremely important for the menstrual cycle. Now, first of all, the more cortisol you have in the body, the less progesterone you will have, because progesterone is the precursor to cortisol, which means it can be converted into cortisol. So what you have to realize is that cortisol is the hormone of stress, of survival. And progesterone is the hormone of babies, making babies, of pregnancy.
Yeah.
So when you put the two next to each other, you know who's going to win, because your body is not going to want you to bring, life into the world if you're not feeling safe. So cortisol is always going to win, and your hormones, your estrogen and progesterone, are going to be pushed down, and you're not going to have enough. So, to go back to your question, the mistakes that women make: eating all hours of the day, staying until late, and waking up late in the morning. This is just throwing off the hormones.
Exactly. That makes perfect sense. When you look at cortisol, which is high, and then that gives you that energy and that makes you active. So if you are eating in the evening, you will be active instead of feeling asleep, or instead of feeling like sleeping or taking some rest. And that also makes sense, because there are many people these days, and women and men, who have sleeping problems, and I think that, like you said, social media is out there, and that also, I think it also disrupts our hormones at the same time. So there is a lot of activity going on in our minds at all times.
Yes, absolutely. It's just we're constantly bombarded, constantly in front of screens, and that light is also not helpful. It's very important to expose your eyes to light first thing in the morning, because the natural light has it's not just blue light, has a full spectrum of light, which is very important, to produce serotonin, which is the happy hormone. So it's and that also regulates the circadian rhythm at the same time.
Okay, awesome. So now that since we are talking about the hormones, what are the signs that women need to be aware of in terms of hormonal imbalances, which are quite frequent these days?
It's so common. I just cannot believe. And I know, because I struggled with hormonal imbalance as well. And I know, and I always thought that it's just normal. But to look for signs, anything that's just not feeling good. So anything it's to do with pain, for example. Pain is just not natural. Or you have premenstrual headaches, or you have acne, anxiety, extreme sadness, mood swings. Those ups and downs that within an hour or 3 hours you experience sadness, or you experience or
that too. So I experience the pain and the sadness, and it is very I feel that very deeply. So you're saying that it's not normal?
It is not normal. It is very common, but it is not normal. It's not something that we should be experiencing every month.
Okay.
Yeah. Like also things like being overly emotional, I mentioned that, but also having extreme cravings or tiredness, and that pain and cramps, this is just not normal. And it's very important that we get the message out there, especially with younger girls. Cycles that are too short, like 25 days, or under 25 days, or over 30 days. This is like too long cycles. This is also not normal. Also, when you have your period less than 3 days, if it's really light, or if you have longer than 5 to 7 days and it's quite heavy, that's also not normal. Yeah. So these are the things that you want to look for. Also, if there are clots, you want to look for that as well.
Okay. So what tips would you give to women who experience such hormonal imbalances?
As I mentioned before, first of all, follow the circadian rhythm and the menstrual cycle. The cycle is also very important. And secondly, I think it's to focus on the two aspects that influence hormonal health. First one is nutrition, and the second one is your nervous system. As I mentioned earlier, with the nervous system, when your body is in survival, there is no way it's going to say it's okay to ovulate. So, and it's also going to take away the progesterone. It's going to make you have anxiety, the mood swings, problem with the digestion. These are all because of a lack of or low progesterone. And to focus on nutrition, when you focus on nutrition, it's very important to support hormonal production, but at the same time to support detoxification. Both are very important. Okay. And to support hormonal production, you really want to focus on the foods that have a little bit of fat, like sardines, for example, fish, salmon, yes. Nuts and seeds, things like that, because hormones are being made from fat. So you really want fat in your diet. Obviously, not only fat, but this is very important. Yeah. But yeah, so, and it's important to focus on detoxification because the way it works with hormones, let's say estrogen is being produced in the ovaries, sometimes it's being produced in the fat tissues as well, and it's being sent in the bloodstream to the different organs in the body that is using the hormone. So for example, the breast is using the hormone, the skin is using the estrogen, the brain is using estrogen. So you want estrogen to be sent through the tissues in the body, being used, and then you want to eliminate it. So I love the rule of estrogen, you use it and you lose it. You don't want to hold on to it. But because estrogen is being metabolized by the liver, because we have this lifestyles where we eat not so healthy, we have alcohol, lots of pesticides, we put so many things on our skin, makeup, and we use perfumes and plastics, drinking from plastic bottles. This is all interfering with the liver. It's just putting a lot of burden on the liver. Yeah. So when that happens, there is no space for estrogen to be eliminated because there is no space and it's not a priority for the liver. So it can be recycled into the bloodstream. And that is the problem. It's not the actual estrogen. Estrogen is an amazing hormone. But the one that is recycled, it's very problematic. And it's the biggest cause for cancers and disease.
So that puts extra burden on the liver actually to do extra work to eliminate all of it.
That's right. So you really want to support your liver and digestion with food. So you want to have lots of things from vegetables from the brassica family, for example, broccoli, cauliflower, cabbage, rocket, lots of sulfur-containing foods such as garlic and onions. Things like that you really want to add to the diet daily.
Okay, interesting. We will come towards the nutrition later on in that. But now I would like to ask you, related to your period, there are different rituals that we can have. And I absolutely love the term rituals because it shows that it connects you either to your home or depending on what kind of rituals you have. So related to your period, what kind of rituals would you suggest to a woman so that instead of being the painful time of the month, it becomes a blessing, it becomes a good time for her to connect with herself?
Yeah, that makes so much sense. And to be honest, the period is a blessing. Like, think about it. You and I and everyone else in this world is here because our mothers had a period.
Yes.
Right?
Yes, absolutely.
And without a period, the future generations will no longer be.
Exactly. And how many of us, it feels like there are so many women out there who are tired of it, who don't like that time of the month. And they are also sort of blamed sometimes because of their emotional reactions or, stuff like that. It's not good. So how to make it a more peaceful, a more connected, a more nice time of the month?
Yeah, that's a very good question because the actual period, it's actually a very peaceful time. It's the time when you can go inwards and connect with yourself. And if you allow yourself to do that, if you don't have, pre-booked appointments or you haven't scheduled anything, or you don't have children who need your attention, if you actually have the time to go inwards, it's actually a very peaceful time. It's the time when you can connect with your emotions. You can let go and, shed whatever is not serving you. And just relaxing on the day, I think it's so important. Like, just 2-3 days of the period. But I think the menstrual cycle is more than just the period. You have, full month when it's the menstrual cycle has, 28, 29 days, depending on each woman. And each phase of the cycle has a different energy.
Yeah.
So you start with your menstrual cycle, which is, day one, and then your energy is quite low because all hormones are quite low then. So you have progesterone that's low, testosterone, estrogen, they're all low. So you really want to go with the flow of allowing yourself to not do much. And you can even plan in advance. Like if you, for example, know that when your period is coming, you can say, you can keep your calendar clear. You can arrange, if you have children, arrange for a nanny, or maybe to stay with the parents, or, just arrange for someone alternative, at least for a couple of hours a day. So you can just go inwards and be with yourself. And the more you honor that time with yourself, the more energetic you will be for the rest of the cycle.
Yeah.
So then, you have your period, and then the energy starts to rise. So as you go towards ovulation, you start low, and then it goes up and up. And then towards ovulation, your energy is just higher. And you really want to push yourself to do things. You really want to, because if you don't push yourself, you're stagnating. And you don't want energy to stagnate. You really want it to move. Yeah. So you want to push yourself, and you want to get out of your comfort zone. You want to, meet people. This is a great time for communication. Just exercise more, be more creative. It's the most fertile time of a woman's month. So your creativity will also be, higher. And then as, we go past ovulation, the energy starts to drop. And it's not because it drops straight away. There is still a long period of time, because that's the longest period, that's the longest phase of our period. It's between the ovulation and the menstrual cycle. Yeah. And it's actually, you can compare it with autumn. In autumn, like it's the harvest, people are working hard. It's cleaning up your list, finishing, putting things for the winter. It's that energy of, okay, I'm almost going into winter. I'm preparing. What do I have to finish? So just ticking things off your list and just being very productive. And then again, your period comes and you can relax again. So this is one thing that I would say for women, to be more in touch with her period, is to be in touch with the phases of the cycle and keep track of the period, either manually or there are so many apps out there that you can use. And just familiarize yourself. How do you feel throughout each phase?
So they should be connecting themselves with their selves during the period time, and be more open and go more out there during the ovulation time, and, make use of that energy, actually, the way the energy comes.
Absolutely. Just make the use of that energy and allow yourself to go, if you, with your period, allow yourself to go into a lower state, lower energy. Just allow yourself to relax, and without feeling guilty, without judging yourself.
Okay.
That's what I would suggest for women.
Okay, awesome. And there is a lot of fatigue that we experience during the age of 30, 40 at this age group. So I know that there are changes that are quite normal in your 30s and 40s. Your body is not the same as it was in your 20s. There are normal changes that happen over time. But what would you consider a normal fatigue, and what is sign of a chronic fatigue or not a normal one? How would you how should a woman react to the fatigue that she is feeling in her body?
Yeah, that makes sense. So just to go to your what you mentioned about, in our 30s and 40s, that hormones change, and basically we experience these symptoms because of the accumulation of what we've done until now. because our livers are already quite burdened, because we cannot eliminate that estrogen, because we have more and more stressful lives, and therefore progesterone is no longer being sustained by our bodies, because we have so much cortisol and adrenaline happening. We have, we're always in a rush, drinking I don't know how many coffees a day and lots of sugar, which keeps that state high. So that is the reason why a woman, especially in her 30s, I mean, obviously it depends, everyone is different and there's no judgment out there, but mostly, generally, a woman in her 30s should not experience much difference than a woman in her 20s in terms of periods. Now, when it comes to the 40s, because studies say that we're born with the finite amount of follicles, so in our 40s we have less eggs, so the chances are from time to time we will ovulate less. So we may skip a month and not ovulate. Now, if we don't ovulate, we don't produce progesterone. Now, very important to mention, progesterone is the anti-anxiety hormone.
Ooh.
So whenever there is lack of progesterone in the second part of the cycle, there is anxiety as well. So if you ever struggle with anxiety just in that particular part of the cycle, then it's related to not having enough progesterone. Now, if you're not, progesterone is only produced if you ovulate. If you don't, it's not produced. So so for example, women who are on hormonal birth control, they do not ovulate, therefore they do not have progesterone. So it's very important to understand that, in your 40s, when you may have less eggs, you may ovulate less from time to time. But this shouldn't be a general thing. It shouldn't be every second month, for example. It's not normal. What is normal is to experience it maybe twice a year, 3 times a year, but not more than that. And so I think it's important to understand, not to normalize that as we go towards, our 40s, we have to experience more mood swings. No, it's actually a reflection of the way we've lived our life. And we can change that. This is a good thing.
Yeah. Through nutrition and through working on your nervous system, right?
Exactly. Nutrition and the nervous system. These are the biggest 2 things that influence hormones. So then you mentioned about energy. Now, energy, yes, it's so important. When we need energy to do daily tasks. But I think it's so important not to get that energy from stimulants, coffee, sugar. This is what we do. We just reach out to something. The way to recognize if your energy is low is that you wake up low. You should never wake up with low energy. That's a sign that something is not right. Your adrenals are not functioning properly. As I explained earlier, cortisol starts to rise in the night. By the time you wake up, it's at its highest. You really want to feel energetic. Now, maybe you're not going to feel, bounce out of bed every single day, especially if you're on your period. But that's a good sign for women to know that waking up in the morning should be quite easy.
Okay. Just a question related to period. We talked about the rituals around the period and everything, but this is just a personal question. Like, I work out every single day, and sometimes when I have my period, it is a little more difficult, but I still do it. Is that a good thing? Is that a bad thing? Should I listen to my body or should I listen to my mind?
Always listen. Okay, always listen to your body. Always listen to your heart, not your body. You really have to train your body. You have to be in control of your body. But when it comes to your cycle, you really want to listen to your body when it says, I'm not feeling well. And I'm not saying do not exercise, but the type of exercise has to change. So when you're on your period and you feel like, you're struggling a bit, or even the days before the period, if you're struggling, do a walk, do yoga, do Pilates, do a dance, something that is easier and flows.
Okay.
You just want your energy to move, but you don't want to push your body to exhaustion.
Okay. So, Adina, let's move on to the nutrition part. And I'm really excited for this because I feel that nutrition helps a lot in gaining energy. And at my age, I'm going to be 35 soon with 2 kids. It's always been a question. And I think that's one of the questions that I asked you when we had our session together, because I was experiencing fatigue at that time, and I really needed something to boost my energy. So my first question to you is, for you, what are the power foods that women should be eating to increase their energy?
Yeah, great question. I always start with fruits. Whenever I'm asked about nutrition, fruits are so important, and especially you really want to eat fruits that are in season, right? You want to eat, especially now we have watermelon, we have cherries, berries like raspberries and blueberries. It's just they're just full of antioxidants. They have resveratrol. They have lots of vitamins. They have selenium, zinc, and these are all super important for the female cycle.
Okay.
So fruits are the most important, I would say, and not too many, and not replacing meals. Like I'm seeing that a lot with women, replacing meals with just fruits. You don't want to eat just sugary, although berries, for example, are great for you, but it's just not enough. So yeah, fruits are important, but do not replace meals with fruit. So maybe 2-3 servings a day.
Okay.
I would say. Okay, so then other things that like fruits that I love now, for example, are nectarines, apricots, peaches. They're all in season, and you really want to eat fruits and anything actually when it's ripe, when you pick them up ripe. So always try to eat from the farmer. If you have farmer markets in your area, just go to a farmer's market. They will normally pick it on the day or the day before, and the nutrition is going to be way more than if it's brought from another country, for example.
Also, you feel that in the taste as well.
Exactly, you feel it in the taste, and also the nutrients are much higher, and it works so much more for the digestion. I'm seeing these days people who struggle with digestion when they eat, for example, aubergines or tomatoes, and the reason for that is vegetables that are picked when they're not ripe, when they're still quite raw. So then that interferes with digestion, and it doesn't have enough nutrients.
Yeah. So you have to wait, so that's just exactly how it should be. Not too raw, not too ripe, but something in between.
Exactly. And that usually has to happen from your local area, because if you bring it from another country, you really have to allow for time not to go off in that period of time. So your farmer's market is the best area, the best place to buy your fruits and vegetables.
Okay, awesome. And if you please go ahead.
Oh, sorry, I was going to go on with with vegetables. So one of the things that I think it's very important that to bring you energy all day is leafy greens. I think we forget about salads and lettuce and rocket and spinach. Like they just have so much nutrition inside, and especially now that it's summer, it's a wonderful time to include those. And also they're quite hydrating, so they're so good for you.
Yeah, exactly. You can also use them in smoothies, and they taste delicious in smoothies.
Oh, I love that.
What you are mixing them with, but I absolutely love like putting spinach in my smoothies, or kale, or broccoli. I've not tried, but I went to a place the other day to have some fresh juice, and they had broccoli. They were including broccoli in the juice with orange juice or carrot, or you could mix that. And
it sounds amazing. I love that. I love a good smoothie. I always make mine in the morning, and I always add celery and maybe some spinach or coriander or parsley, or some herbs, for example.
So fresh. It's so fresh, and it smells great, and it feels great to drink it. Yeah.
Exactly, like you're feeling the nutrients in your body. Just gives you so much energy.
So yes, Adina, if you had to give me examples of, let's say, breakfasts and snacks that we should be eating to have increased energy, to have a high energy throughout the day, for a longer period of time, for 3-4 hours, what would you give me? Just give me some examples.
Of course. Yes. So I would say that breakfast is your most important meal. And I know some people skip breakfast nowadays because they want to do intermittent fasting. As a woman, if you want to do intermittent fasting, again, do not do it in the second part of your period, just in the first part. But do not skip breakfast, because breakfast is regulating your circadian rhythm. And it gives you energy. Like you want energy in the morning. You don't want to be, less energetic. So I would say always have a balanced plate. Include some carbohydrates, some protein, and some fat. And what I'm loving, for example, you asked me for examples. So I love quinoa porridge, for example. Quinoa made as, I don't know if you know this, I don't know if it's a British
I do,
thing.
but I have not heard quinoa porridge.
So it's made exactly the same, but instead of oats, you use quinoa. So you boil it in either milk or, well, not milk because I don't drink milk, but maybe in hemp milk or oat milk.
Okay.
Or you boil it in water and you add some milk at the end, and then you add some nuts and berries and a bit of honey. And quinoa has so much protein, and it has so many nutrients. It has amino acids. It has good fats. So it's really good for you. It's a complete meal. So by adding some nuts and some berries, for example, it just makes it more balanced.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I encourage you to try. I think I have a recipe on my Instagram. So
okay, I will check out. I love the other recipes that you shared. They are very simple in general, and especially
I love simple.
You made something round like this with lentils.
Yes, it's the I don't remember the name, but it's the red lentils. You just soak them. It's literally 2 ingredients. You soak them and you mix them in a blender, and you made like a pancake.
That looks very simple, and I love lentils, and they contain a lot of protein, if I'm not wrong.
They have lots of protein and lots of like good carbohydrates, complex carbohydrates. So it's a very good combination. Yeah, definitely encourage you. So that's a lunch you can try, or maybe a dinner. But yeah, the other breakfast that I would recommend would be chia seeds pudding. I don't know. I think it's quite popular nowadays. It's my favorite now.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
It's just soaking the chia seeds. Chia seeds, again, they're so amazing. They have so many antioxidants, and they have protein, lots of protein. And it's complete protein, so you don't have to replace it. Just like meat has complete protein.
Okay.
And also it has lots of good fats, so omega-3, which is very anti-inflammatory. So you really want that. And I always add nuts. Like every day I add nuts to my breakfast, especially Brazil nuts, because they have lots of selenium, and selenium is crucial for detoxification and for the thyroid and for hormones in general. So I encourage you to eat Brazil nuts 3-4 a day maximum. You don't need more than that, but just add a few, at least, a few times a week. And then I always add fruit, so either banana or berries. So this is one of the breakfasts that I usually have. And then at the weekend, when I have a bit more time, I usually make myself, I love gluten-free toast, very good quality gluten-free toast made of oats or quinoa or some buckwheat flour, and with avocado and with eggs. Okay. This is, again, a very balanced meal. You have carbohydrates in the toast, you have fat in the avocado, and you have also lots of protein in the egg. So it's a very balanced. And what I would say is, you said to me, a breakfast that keeps you full until, for 2, 3, 4 hours, right? You really do not want to snack in the morning. There's no need. If you have a good breakfast for 3.5 hours, there should be no need to snack.
Okay.
So yeah, this, one of this type of breakfast, if you have a good amount that makes you full but not too full, it's definitely enough, for 3-4 hours.
Like, since it's balanced and it contains everything, normally you should not feel the need. And by the way, with avocado, I have tried this recently, and honestly, like, I ate in the morning and it was really good on a bread. I used, I saw it on Pinterest, and then I started making it, and it's delicious. It makes you feel full, and at the same time, you don't feel like hungry after that for quite some time. And you can make it either sweet or salty, depending on your taste.
Exactly. Yeah, it's very interesting, right? So you can depending on the taste, depending on the day. But you're right. If you have a balanced meal, if you have a little bit of carbohydrates, fat, and protein, that should, that's the perfect meal that keeps you full for about 3 hours.
Okay, great. And what about the snacks?
Snacks. Okay, so snacks, it depends. I mean, I don't really have a savory tooth. So for example, I don't eat too many I don't eat crisps almost ever. But for snacks, I think fruit, especially in the afternoon, you really want to have a couple of fruits at least, like, 2 servings of fruit, whatever is in season, whatever it's organic, whatever you can find. And another thing for energy is to have, like, the energy balls that you can make yourself at home with nut butters, almond butter, some dates, some seeds, coconut.
Yes. And also sometimes adding oats in it.
You can add oats if you want. Yeah, that's absolutely fine. You can add chia seeds. You can add shredded coconut. You can add cacao. So, there are lots of options. Yeah, so that would be my go-to snack if I wanted something.
Okay, awesome. Thank you.
Yeah.
And my channel, I talk a lot about mental strength because in the past I have had this need of being mentally strong and resilient. And for me, it was due to my divorce. And I feel that there are many women who in their 30s and 40s are going through different transitions in their lives, breakups and divorces, or maybe something else, like some transition in their work because they want to change their job. They have been working for a few years in something else and now they want to change, but it's not easy, or starting a business or things like that. But I feel that mental strength is always extremely important. So what foods would you say are good for the mind to keep you mentally balanced and strong during these times, whether they are different struggling times or even generally?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's so normal, we all go through different stages. And as you say, if it's not a divorce, it's a breakup, or it's something in your career, or, starting a business, that also can take a lot. So, it's quite stressful. But I think, okay, so to go to your question, I think if it's not just foods, I think it's replacing things. So for example, if you're always on coffee or some stimulants, that those things have to go, because when your nervous system is already quite stressed, you really don't want to add more. So if you're having a lot of stimulants, like lots of sugar, especially processed sugar, or coffees during the day, I would just say cut those first and then go to adding things.
Okay. So first getting rid of everything that is taking up energy from you, and then moving on towards something more healthier.
Exactly. Okay, so if you want to add something to your diet, like I love ashwagandha powder, for example. You may have heard of it.
No.
Okay, ashwagandha is it's a plant from South America. It's I think it's from India as well, and it's adaptogenic, so it balances your nervous system. So it really helps you transition difficult periods. So it doesn't work from a day to another. So it's not a quick fix. So you would have to have it consistently. So, for example, for a couple of weeks, and then you would see that you're more resilient in how you deal with situations.
Okay.
So it's usually you find it in a powder form, or and you can add it to your smoothies in the morning, or you can have like a latte in the evening, and so on. Okay. Yeah. Then I would say, like, in the evening, it's so important to have something comforting. So I always love like a turmeric latte, for example. Turmeric is very good anti-inflammatory, and when you're stressed, your inflammation it's going high. So you really want something that's lowering that inflammation. So turmeric latte made with either coconut milk. Coconut is also amazing for stress. It has lauric acid. I think I'm pronouncing it right, and that's very calming. It has the same ingredient as you find it in the breast milk. So it's very calming for the nervous system. So coconut is great. So coconut latte in the evening, it's amazing.
So you add turmeric to the coconut milk, and you add something sweet as well, like maple syrup.
Yeah, so maybe a little bit of honey, or if you're not eating sugar, you can add some stevia drops, and just to make it a bit sweeter, and maybe some cinnamon, because that's also balancing the blood sugar levels. So that's a really nice latte to have, before going to sleep.
I will have it. I will start having it, because sometimes in the evening I feel like having something that helps me freshen up, because I eat very early in the evening. I eat around 6:30, because as soon as I get back from work, I'm very hungry, and then until 9, 10, I don't eat anything after that. So
Perfect.
I
Yes.
think it would be a good thing to have like at 8, for example.
Yes, absolutely. And then it just makes you, it just calms the nervous system, and then it's easier to go to sleep.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's one of the things. Bananas are also amazing for the nervous system. They have magnesium and potassium, so they're calming. But it's I think it's not just food. I think it's, as I mentioned at the beginning, your circadian rhythm, waking up with the sun, exposing your eyes to the sun in the morning, and then in the evening allowing that cortisol to drop. So switching off your the screens after 9 o'clock. Just switch off your phone, switch off the TV, read a book, the old-fashioned book, and go to bed really early. And that will really help you regulate your nervous system.
Okay. Awesome. Well,
Makes
we'll
sense?
definitely try out. Absolutely. Thank you. Now, Adina, I will come to you. I would like to steal some ideas from you. So I would like to know, I have a few questions directly just for you, asking you, what are the 5 foods that you are loving these days and you would consider them to be like must-haves for women?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think, again, I'm going to start with fruits because, I just, not that I don't eat more than, 2-3 fruits a day, for example, but fruits are so important for women because the way a fruit is produced is the same as a woman produces an egg.
Okay.
So the tree, starts from the flower,
Yeah.
and then it takes about 3 months for the flower to become a fruit.
Yeah.
Now, the same way in a woman, it starts with a follicle, and then it takes about 3 months to become a mature egg.
Yeah.
So those fruits, resonate at the process that we are going through. So it's really helpful for us to have fruits. So nowadays I'm loving blueberries. This is my go-to, and apricots. This is
Awesome.
are the 2 fruits.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so good for you, and also good taste as well.
Okay.
What else? I'm loving coconut kefir lately. I don't know if you've heard of that before.
No, not the kefir, but I like, it must be around that same taste of coconut milk, coconut cream.
It's a bit more sour because it's fermented. So it has lots of good bacteria. Kefir usually comes from Eastern Europe, and it's made with normal milk, with cow milk,
Okay.
or goat milk. But we have here in London coconut kefir, and it's really good for the body. But I also love the taste, so I'm just drinking it as a refreshment during the day. So yeah, that's one of the things that I'm adding. What else? I love salmon. I love sardines. So for example, if I have a salad, I'll always add some sort of fish. I'm loving steak lately, which I find that it's so important. Like, as women after the period, we lose iron, we lose magnesium, we lose zinc,
Yes.
through the menstrual cycle, through the period. And we really want to replenish those things.
Mm-hmm.
So as you finish your period, as you approach ovulation, it's very important to start eating something that's going to replenish those nutrients. So you want more iron, you want more magnesium, you want zinc. So for example, a steak has everything. I always buy grass-fed, organic, and I only eat like 2-3 times a month, and that's sufficient.
Interesting. I almost don't eat at all simply because I want to stop it. But you are so right that after the period, in order to replenish your body and to give back that iron that you have lost, it's a good thing to add it at least a few times a month.
Exactly, at least after the period, because especially as women, we lose iron, and iron is needed for everything. You cannot have a healthy thyroid, you cannot have healthy liver, like nothing in the body, and no energy. We were talking about energy. There is no energy without iron, and iron is lost through the menstrual cycle.
Yeah.
So you really want to replenish that. I also love adding some green powder to my smoothie. So spirulina, chlorella, they give you lots of energy, lots of iron again. And then these days I love oysters. I'm obsessed with oysters. So not many, but 3 oysters from time to time. They just have so much zinc, selenium, so they're all really good for the immune system and for hormones.
Wow. Awesome. Thank you for sharing all those ideas. I'm looking forward to trying out.
Yeah, absolutely.
And now I would like to ask you a few ideas of like your diet. What does it look like in the morning, in the for lunch, snack, evening? Like how does a day, how does your diet in a day look like?
Yeah, absolutely. So I always start my day with lemon water, warm lemon water, and a dandelion tea. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's a habit that I created, and I love it. And I also always start with meditation as well.
With
So with meditation, there's
ah,
no food, but yeah, it's just a practice.
yeah.
And I always eat in the morning, so around 8 o'clock. It's usually my eating time, and I always have, like, lately I'm into chia seeds pudding with lots of berries, lots of nuts. So this is
Yeah.
my go-to. And then I always have a smoothie as well, because it just gives me the energy. And in the smoothie, I add coconut water because it has lots of electrolytes, and it's keeping me hydrated for the day. So it's very, in the morning when I leave the house, for example, I just feel energized, and I love that feeling.
Okay. Okay. Great.
Yeah, so that's, if I have more time, I would make some eggs on toast, but otherwise just the chia pudding for now.
Yeah.
And then for lunch, it depends what's happening. If I'm busy, I usually like to have a salad, so I prepare things in advance. So, for example, a salad, it's easy. You just put the leaves, but then I really want to add some protein and some carbohydrates, and some fat as well. And adding quinoa, for example, it's amazing. It's so easy. You can make it in advance. You can store it in the fridge for 5 days, and you can just add it to your salad. And then just added lots of vegetables that are quite easy to cut. And I would often, if I make something in the evening, I would make extra so I can add it the next day. So, for example, if I'm making roast chicken, I would keep some for the next day so I can add to the salad. So that's usually my go-to salad, go-to lunch during the day.
Okay, great. That's a great idea to prepare quinoa in advance, and then you can add it in the end. And that's a very nutritious thing, to add to your food. You can add leaves and the rest that you already have, but quinoa, you don't even need to prepare that. It's already there, and you just add it, and it's a very healthy thing that you can add to your food.
Absolutely. I mean, we live such busy lives, right? So you really want to minimize your daily work, and you want to eat healthy, because otherwise you just reach out to whatever is unhealthy.
Yes.
So yeah, just prepare in advance. This is what I would say.
Okay.
And I love a good dinner, so I always go for, it depends. If I have a lot of protein at lunch, I wouldn't have twice in a day. So if I eat chicken at lunch, I would have vegetables only for dinner. So there's no need to eat, meat two times a day, for example. So I would have maybe a gluten-free pasta with courgettes or vegetables. I would have some, I love lentils with vegetables, or chickpeas with vegetables. So usually my go-to is, some sort of protein with vegetables.
Okay. And the lentils, how are they prepared? Is that in a soup? How do they look like?
No, I normally just make them, my own way of cooking them, which is a sort of dal, but not adding lots of, I think dal is made with coconut milk or with cow milk. But I normally just make them, just with a few onions, with a little bit of coconut milk, and then lots of spices. And then I just add lots of vegetables at the end, and I let it steam on top and absorb all that water, and then that's it. It's very simple.
Great. Well, that's great. I absolutely love having some soups in the evening with lentils as well, and it's a good idea to include some vegetables in it.
Yes, always. Every meal has to have vegetables, so I always have at least 1 or 2 sides of vegetables.
Okay. Well, thank you. And my last question here is, what other practices do you do to be connected with your body and live a blissful life? Because you have, the name of your website is Blissful Life Woman, right? If I'm not wrong.
Blissful Woman Life. Yes.
Blissful Woman Life. So please tell me a little bit about the practices that you use in your daily life.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think I just mentioned earlier, I wake up in the morning and I meditate. And I've been doing this for at least 4 years. And the reason I do that is because it's the connection with myself. but also to train myself to become aware throughout the day.
Okay.
So you know how we live life and things happen from the outside, your boss says something or your partner says something, and you start imagining things and you're reacting straight away, and that creates a lot of stress on the nervous system. So it's very important to keep a calm nervous system, and by meditating you're able to detach those from those reactions, and instead just take a step back and respond the way you want to respond, right? So one of my practices is meditation, and I love it. I don't do a lot, maybe 10-15 minutes, sometimes 20 minutes at the weekend if I have more time.
Okay.
Then I always exercise, and I exercise in the morning. So yoga is my go-to. I do some weights depending on where I'm in the cycle, but exercise, especially yoga, and any exercise, I think for me is about being present rather than being in my head thinking, oh, what do I have to do tomorrow? What's my list for later?
Yeah.
No, it's just being present and seeing, is anything coming up? Any emotion? Is there any tension anywhere in the body? And just, releasing it.
During exercise.
Yes, during exercise.
Okay.
Very important not to push through. Sometimes you exercise and you feel so exhausted and you keep pushing through because you think that's good.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's good, but I think most of the time just listen to what's happening in your body and release, as opposed to just ignore, because you're abandoning yourself in that moment. So just releasing the emotions when they come up.
That's very interesting, because getting, whether it is trauma, whether it is emotions, like you said, getting them out of your body, there are different ways of doing that. But I'm hearing for the first time about doing that during your exercise. And it's a great way, because honestly, during my exercise also, I do feel those things that come out from the body, but I have not really taken time to focus on them and allowing them to release. So it's a good thing to focus on that and allowing your body to express itself, and then releasing these emotions through exercise, simply through like working out.
Exactly. It's a wonderful way. And, it's something that we want to exercise because we want to look good or we want to be healthy. So why not combine it with that emotional work and just release those emotions as well?
Wow.
So yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that. So these are the things that I do usually. I always, as I said to you before, awareness is a key part of my day. It's a habit that I've learned, and it has helped me a lot in my life. Instead of, creating drama or taking things personally, that awareness is kind of keeping me in check and, keeping my nervous system calm. So I check in with myself every time something happens, every time I feel tension in my body. I'm aware. Before I reply, I go back inside and I think, okay, which part of me is talking? Is there an empowered part of me, or is it my little girl inside who wants to react and wants to feel entitled or something like that?
Yeah.
So that awareness, it's very important for me.
Okay. Wow.
So these are my practices. I love nature. I'm always out in nature whenever I can, going for walks, just, being silent in nature. I think it's so important. So these are usually my
Awesome.
practices that I do.
Love them. Thank you so much for sharing. Okay, so now let's talk about the feminine energy, known as the divine feminine energy. And I learned about this only this year. I'm 34, and I learned about it earlier, like in February or March this year. And how I wish I had known this earlier in my life, and it would have been so much helpful, because I find that it has been like life changing for me. It's been so incredible, all that I have experienced by learning about it and by implementing some practices into my life. So there are many women out there who don't know about this, what divine feminine energy actually even is. So first of all, I would like to ask you to tell me a little bit about what it is and why is it important for us to know about it?
I would love, yes, it's good you mentioned. I would love to hear about your practices. And I'll share with you my view on feminine energy. There are quite a few views out there. and I'll share with you mine. So feminine energy is simply put the energy of being. Feminine is being, masculine is doing, right? So you hear a lot of women saying, oh, I'm too much in my masculine. You cannot be in your masculine. You can only do masculine. You cannot be in your masculine. So, and it's a misconception also that the feminine means you're doing nothing. It's not the case. So just like an emotions, they range from going from fear, depression, feeling insecurity, all the way to anger, and then all the way to joy, happiness, right? I don't know if you heard of the scale of emotions, and they have different frequencies. Now, the same way, feminine energy or your state of being ranges from, feeling helpless, feeling like a victim, feeling like you're not enough, you're not worthy, all the way to feeling confidence, feeling joy, feeling happiness, right? So this is, for me, feminine energy is the state of being. You're always in your feminine, but what are you in the wounded feminine, in the part of you that, the lower energy that comes from, the past, from your past experiences where you were maybe, you experience something and you're carrying that energy with you, and you familiarize yourself with that energy, and you keep recreating your life according to that blockage in yourself.
Yeah.
So if you're staying at the lower energy, you're always going, your nervous system is going to be quite taxed.
Yeah. And
no one is going to say, okay, so let's say you're in your victim energy. No one is going to say, if you say to someone you're being a victim, they will say, no way, they will become defensive, right? But how do we know? We know because the state of being, it's creating thoughts, and it's also creating your actions. So then your thoughts, when you're in that state of being, is things like, oh, he made me mad. I'm like this because of my parents, because of my childhood. I will never get that job. All those thoughts in the head, or you're saying things like, I'm just big just because my parents were the same. It's genetic. And if you can hear from what I'm saying, all this sound helpless, like you have no choice there, you have no control. And that's very taxing for the nervous system. It's not a healthy state to be in, right? So you really want to, and the actions that you're going to take from there, what are they? You're going to be complaining a lot. You're going to spend a lot of time in front of the TV watching mindless programs. Or you're going to be shopping endlessly, money that you probably don't have. Or you're going to be eating just because you want to avoid that emotion that's coming up on the inside, and you can't deal with it. So other states like this would be, overworking, for example. Now, work, it's noble. It's amazing to work, right? You want to work. You want to be proud of yourself. But where is it coming from? Is it coming from a place, when I will achieve that, when I will have that master's degree, I will be someone? When I will have that job and that promotion, that means people will see me a certain way? Or I'm working because I have this energy inside of me that wants to come out, and I'm so proud of it, and I want to share it with the world. You see the change in energy? Exactly. It's a completely different energy. So where who you are being, it's creating your action. It's very important, for example, women who are being overly pleasing or overly giving, people pleasing, right? It's very good to give to people, but when it comes from a place of, when your validation comes from giving, when you expect something in return, and you're not expecting consciously, because these are so subconscious, we were just wired that way. As little people, we had to work for love, or we have to prove something, or we were praised, and then we just wanted to do more and more of that thing just because we wanted that attention and validation. So the important thing is, why are you doing it? What is the energy? Who are you being? Like, what is the energy behind what you're doing, right? That's your feminine energy. And you really want to move up into a more confident state, worthy state. That's because when you're in the lower energies, your nervous system is just gonna not be good. You're gonna create lots of drama. You're gonna feel very needy because you're not giving enough love to yourself. You're gonna be controlling and manipulating with people. You're gonna close off. You know that talk. Oh, I'm not gonna give love until he shows me love first. That little girl inside is kind of scared to open up before someone else shows her, what she needs. Being overly sensitive, taking things personally. These are all energies of the lower self. So, people call them wounded energies. You've probably heard of that term.
Yes.
So these are all things from the past. Whenever we experience something, we kind of create patterns in our personality, and then we hold on to them and we recreate our life according to these patterns. And this, it's quite unhelpful for us, especially as women, for the nervous system. It's quite taxing. It's putting a lot of pressure, and it's not helping us. So what I'm trying to say is it's really important to move into a more state of confidence, state of joy, state of I'm worthy, I am enough, because you are. Just because you exist here, the space that you take in this world matters just as much as the person next to you or the mountain that stands in front of you and doesn't apologize that it's so big. It's the same energy.
Except that it is so difficult to get into that mode when your entire life you have been taught that you have to give, you have to seek validation of your parents, of the other people around you. It's extremely difficult when you arrive in your 30s or 40s to change that in your own mind. So just telling yourself I'm enough or I validate myself, it's not enough. It needs a lot more work than actually just that. And I have done that work. So I can so understand that it's not easy to shift from that mindset to this one where you feel validated for being the person that you are instead of wanting to please others or wanting to control others. And that's why I was saying that it has changed my life, because it has put me in a process of trusting the process, trusting life. It's okay.
Yeah.
I am going to, instead of wasting my energy on being scared or feeling fearful about what's going to happen, are they going to accept me? Are they going to reject me? It's just, I'm going to put the same energy into trusting. So I have been working a lot on transforming each one of my thought as soon as I realize that it's negative or that it's not supporting me, like you said earlier, is this something that is empowering me? If it's not empowering me, I would change that immediately in my mind, and I will work on taking this new thought and implementing it into my mind so that becomes a part of me. So I would just like to ask you, what suggestions would you give to women who have never been taught to be connected with their emotions, who have no idea what they are feeling, and how to connect now in their 30s and 40s with their emotions?
I think most of us will do the work in our 30s and 40s, because in our 20s, we're just not aware of. I mean, some people maybe nowadays, they're more aware, but I think this information is coming out more and more. And in our 30s, we kind of start to become more, I deserve this. So we start to do the work. But when it comes to emotions, like I love what you said, when you catch yourself having a thought, you're changing it. And that's very important. You really want to change that thought, and you want to rephrase how you say things. So instead of feeling disempowered, you go into an empowered state. However, you probably have experienced that. There will often be resistance in your body. So you will say something, but your body's not going to believe it. So that's where emotions come in. That's one part how I use emotions. But learning how, I always say to my clients, think that there are no words, there's no language whatsoever. What would you do? You can't think, because if there's no language, you can't think. So you have to express something through the body. And only then you can realize that actually inside of your body, there is tension somewhere. When I ask my clients, where are you feeling the tension? Often what I'm hearing is, I don't know. Yeah. And I get that, because I was the same. I didn't know where is the tension, unless it's extremely obvious. You know, some people experience it in the throat area or in the chest area, feel like a constriction in the chest, or in the solar plexus. You know, just that anxiety in your stomach. Just knowing where is that energy and then releasing it, it's extremely important. And only then, you know, you can rephrase with conviction. You can say things to yourself in a way that you believe them. But until you remove that energy that's holding you back, it's very difficult to change that thought in the head. So when it comes to emotions, I think it's very important that often people say expressing emotions, and I don't like the word expressing. Not that they shouldn't be expressed, but what happens is when you express an emotion, often is you're screaming at your partner, you're, you know, shouting at your parents, or, you know, it comes out in a way that you think you're entitled to do that. Mm-hmm. But actually that lower emotion does not have to be expressed out there in the world. This is my view. You're just polluting the word when you express it like that. So the way I'm thinking about emotions is you have to go inside and let it go. You have to witness it, just like you would be the watcher. You are the one who is experiencing that emotion, and you're not the emotion itself. So if you say I'm angry, that's, you know, you may want to rephrase that. A part of me is feeling angry right now. Like I'm feeling some anger inside. And just rephrasing, because if you say I am, you're going into who you are, and it's not you. You are the one who's experiencing that emotion, right?
Yeah.
So by creating that little detachment between you and the emotion, you're actually able to deal with that emotion, you're able to be more resilient and feel it and let it go. And you can, you know, you often can see that emotion is actually just something that you know, as a little person, you kind of learned how to behave, and you're holding on to that story in your head. It's so mental. It's so in your you know, in your mind, in your ego, created by the ego. So it's very important to just go into your body and just release it. And it takes practice. You know, when I started that, it was like, what am I doing? But with time, it takes practice, and you realize that, you know, you're just breathing through an emotion and through that tension in the body, and you're releasing it. And after like 2, 3, 4, 5 minutes, it's like, what was I feeling? And the thoughts are gone, and you're just, you know, completely different. And then the more you practice, the better you get at doing it.
Yeah. You like just observing your emotion and allowing it space.
Exactly, observing the emotion, allowing it space, and then recognizing where is it in the body, and then releasing it, releasing that tension. You know, forget about the story that you created in the mind. Just going into the body and feeling it as a tension. And, you know, we were talking earlier about exercise. That's a perfect moment to, you know, release it when you move your body.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's awesome. You know, Adina, I really loved the fact that you said that most of us actually learn to connect to ourselves in our 30s, and it's as if you have normalized it by saying this. And I really appreciate you for this, because honestly, there are so many of us who think that, oh no, there was something wrong in my childhood that happened, and that's why I have not been able to connect myself to my emotions, and that's why today I have to do all this work. But the reality is that there are so many of us that who have not learned this work. And so unless if you have really had those parents who have done immense effort on teaching you about the emotions, otherwise most of us are like that. And it's so normal to do the work in your 30s, in your 40s. That's how you learn, actually, through experiences, that I need these kind of works or these kind of efforts to make on myself. And
absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I think, you know, we are a reflection of our past, and this is not a judgment. It's just it's an invitation to actually look at who we are and who we want to be. And if we don't like who we are, if we keep recreating the same stories, the same situations in our life, then it's because of the past. And it's nothing wrong. It's, our parents didn't know any better. There's no blame there, because they had their own limitations. I'm sure no parent would, want to do any harm to their child, but because of their own limitations, they just didn't know any better. So yes, we are a reflection of the past, but this is the time to change it. And I think in our 30s, we kind of realize, okay, I'm feeling a bit more empowered now. I have more confidence.
Yeah.
Let's do the work.
Exactly. And I think also all the knowledge that we have today, we didn't have it earlier on. You had to go to the library, you had to get information over there. You did not have the internet where you could search for information. You could not visualize videos and get all of this information. All that we have today, I think we are extremely lucky that we have that ability to teach ourselves, how to coach ourselves, how to heal ourselves. And it's a great power, I think, that we have today.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. I think we live in such amazing times now.
Yeah.
And we can just, change the way we live our lives.
Yes, exactly. And what would you say? You gave this very nice example of how a woman should be tapping into her own emotions and how she can then release them through her body. So now that she is doing this work, what kind of changes is she going to experience by tapping more into her feminine energy?
Yeah, absolutely. So the changes that, like, I've been seeing them in my own life. So first of all, there's flow. Instead of feeling that you're just going against the flow, you just have to work hard. That mentality that if I don't do it, no one will do it. And it's just a hard life. And you're realizing, no, actually it's not. I am empowered. I choose, how to live my life. And then you're just creating more flow in life. You're going with the flow. You create acceptance to what is, instead of pushing against, your mind thinks that this is right for you. But actually a situation from the outside is happening. It's nothing to do with you. So by accepting it, you're just creating that flow in life.
Yeah.
Another thing that I'm seeing with women, that they experience more confidence, and that confidence is not, it's not the entitlement or the demanding sort of confidence. It's not the overconfidence that comes from insecurity in a way, but it's that confidence that comes from a deep knowing that I am enough. That, as I said, the space that I occupy in the world matters. Yeah. And that confidence is often, it's mixed with compassion and humility. And those things start with yourself, starting with, having compassion for what you are going through. You had a life, you didn't know how to deal with things, and you may be going through emotional struggles inside. Having compassion, and compassion is not, don't mistake it with self-pity. It's not self-pity. It's not, feeling sorry for yourself. It's just accepting that this is what I'm going through and it's okay. And then you can, sit with those emotions. Now, one other thing that I'm seeing with women is worthiness and being enough. Like, as I said, you are worthy just because you are, right? There's nothing you need to prove. And you are an extension of the universe in a way.
Yes.
So, made from exactly the same energy. So why would you not be worthy, right? And one thing that I'm noticing a lot, it's with me and also with other people, when you embody more, the higher states, the empowered feminine energy, you start to want to serve more. You're no longer feeling like it's all about yourself. It's not about doing things that it's not self-gratifying. Does it make sense?
Yeah. Like it's not just about you. It's
not all about you.
Are adding value to others' lives.
Exactly. It's about adding value to others' life. And the way we start serving people is whenever you embody your authentic self. If you notice, and you probably haven't experienced that in your life, when you spend a little bit of time by yourself and you have time for yourself, you go in within, your energy starts to want to create. And that energy just wants to come out and express itself. And you get in touch with your desires. You think, oh, I would love to have a business. I would love to have a family. I would love to have this and that. And those desires, if they come from a true, desire of just expressing yourself, then that's the way you serve in a way as well. Because the more you put yourself out there, or the information, for example, in your business, the more you put that information, the more you will help other people.
Yeah.
So that's a way of serving yourself, and just getting in touch with your desires, and they are a reflection of your authenticity, of that energy that wants to create.
Yeah, exactly. It's
so
like,
that's the difference.
yeah, like it's, use it, like, but by connecting to yourself, by understanding yourself, you feel this need to use your creativity to bring something out there. So whether it is through a business, whether it is through creating some form of art, but
Exactly.
it always adds something to the world, and that's beautiful.
Exactly, that's exactly it. So just by adding it, you don't have to overly please people. You don't have to give because that's how you think you're going to get validation. Instead, you're going within and you're pleasing yourself. You're creating that joy. You're embodying the things that actually light you up. So many of us don't know what lights us up, and it takes time to go inside and allow that energy to speak to you. So yeah, that's one of the things that I'm noticing with people around me. When they take time for themselves, that's when that energy wants to get out and create.
Yeah. I have personally felt that I feel so much lighter by trusting the process, by allowing myself to go with the flow. And sometimes I also use that, what now I don't, but in the beginning I had used, but I was thinking about it, starting it again today, the manifestation with the moon, the phases of the moon. And
Yes,
I really loved it because I read a book. I listened to a book on divine feminine energy, and it told about every single thing that you need to do in each phase of the moon. So I found that to be a very beautiful practice. And, just lighting candles and taking your time and drinking a tea and just observing your thoughts and observing yourself as if you were someone else.
Yeah, exactly. Just like
as a person, what am I enjoying? I'm walking here. What am I liking the most? What are the smells that intrigue me the most? And so I have found it to be a something that has really brought a lot of lightness into my life. And
that's amazing.
yeah, and I find that a combination of both, like masculine and feminine energies within you, it's an ideal thing to have a good combination of both. So what practices would you like to share with me that have helped you keep a good balance of these two energies in your life?
Yeah, you're right. Masculine is just as important. Like, you really have to support yourself. Without you actually supporting yourself, if you have a desire, you need masculine energy to bring it out to life. You need to create that space and that organization and take that action in order to bring it to life. And the more you do that, the more you're going to feel secure in yourself, safe. Your nervous system is going to be calmer. You'll feel more peaceful within yourself. So that's a very good, thanks for bringing that up. So for me, I think I just mentioned already, I don't have crazy, I don't have rituals that I do. I do love my meditation, and I do love setting intentions in the morning. And then in the evening, I'm thinking, okay, did I rise above my, did I let go of that lower part of me today? Was there a situation where I could have done any better? When setting the intention, if, for example, I have a day that's with clients, or if I'm doing something, with other people, how am I showing up? Just taking responsibility for my energy before I actually go to the meeting or before meeting someone. Because your energy is your responsibility. There's no need, to go out in the world and complain about things, focus on the negative, because you're not bringing anything, right? Mm-hmm. So by connecting with myself in the morning, meditating, and then setting the intention, and then as I mentioned before, just being aware of myself, what's happening inside throughout the day, just taking time. Okay, do I need to react here, or do I need to take a step back and just release? So this is my way of connecting with the feminine.
Okay. Wow, beautiful.
Also, I love, sorry to interrupt you. Also, I love, which I do from time to time, is visualization. Things that, you know, who am I trying to be? What am I trying to do? Like, you know, and if I'm trying to become that person, what do I have to do to get there? So just visualizing, it just opens your horizons and possibility for future.
Yeah, exactly. That's beautiful. Exactly. And you know, visualizing it is just about being. Even if you want to be that person, you just have to accept that I already am that person and live like that person.
Exactly.
And it really like quickens the process and makes you feel so much more in charge of becoming that person finally.
Exactly. And if you don't know who you want to be, that person, look around you. Who do you admire? Who do you respect? What are they like? What would they do in this situation? Would they create a drama, or would they take a step back and, you know, become, you know, act more maturely? How would they be? So you can recreate that inside of you.
I love that. Thank you for sharing. You know, my last question to you today, because I really want to encourage women, whether they are in their 30s, 40s, 50s, whenever, I really want to encourage them and empower them to move towards a new version of themselves. You know, there is always, we have gone through a lot in those past years, and it depends what kind of life you have had. But most of us, you know, we have different transitions in life, different difficulties and phases of life. And what kind of message would you give to women who want to move towards a new version of themselves?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a good question. And obviously there's so many things that I could say, but I think you cannot change anything unless you start from acceptance and no judgment. So whenever you look in your life, you know, you could start judging that I come from this sort of background, therefore I will never be able to be here. Or, you know, there's always a sort of like blame on the past. So I would say, let go of the blame. What happened, that's in the past. And I would say, accept what is happening now. You know, all the emotions that are coming up, just accept them. And from that place of acceptance, I think it's much, much easier to move towards change. And towards who you want to become, you know, the version of yourself that you want to be.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Absolutely. Thank you so much, Adina. Thank you for your time. Thank you for all this precious information that you have shared with us. And
you're welcome. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. And so all the best. And I will see you soon.
Yes, good luck with everything you're doing. I think you're doing great. You're helping so many women out there. So good luck to you. And so proud of you that you've implemented things, you know, from our discussion. And you seem like, you know, your health is thriving. So very proud of you.
Exactly. I have learned a lot from our last session, and all the information that you have given today also, I'm definitely going to apply, especially the recipes that you have given. And then the fact of releasing your energy through your body while you are working out. I have had like many insights through this. So thank you.
Amazing. I'm so happy to hear.
Thank you, Adina. Bye-bye.
Bye. Have a great day. Bye-bye.
That was it. I hope that this interview has helped you get some kind of ideas for your own nutrition. Honestly, my most favorite one was the fact of drinking something before going to bed with some turmeric powder in it. How calming should that be? I will definitely try this out. And you also, please share in the comments below what were the kind of insights that you got from this interview. And also stay healthy, stay blessed, and keep excelling. I will see you hopefully in my next video. Take care. Until then, bye.